you hear that?
My coworker and I just stared at each other in disbelief. My heart was pounding. Things like that aren't supposed to happen.
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw this shadow move. Whatever it was followed me into the break room.
I felt paralyzed because I was so scared. This presence was standing at the edge of the bed, staring and waiting for me.
There was literally like somebody right behind me. That terrified me. Things were just getting worse.
I felt that if I held my breath, maybe it wouldn't hear me.
The presence did not want me in their space, that I needed to leave quickly.
I thought eventually they'll give up. They'll leave me alone.
That's it! I've had it! Enough!
Fresh out of college, Colleen Costello lands a job as a medical assistant in Ireland. She is assigned to a recommissioned hospital complex. It's a place her boyfriend's father has history with.
His father had been a patient there when he was younger. He had tuberculosis. A lot of his friends, who were also patients at the time, passed away.
TB ravaged Ireland in the early 20th century, consuming its victims who coughed up blood and withered away as they drowned from the inside out.
He was just very, very lucky to survive that. A lot of patients there didn't make it.
By the 1950s, TB is eradicated as a major threat, and the local sanatorium is given new life.
So I got a part-time job there, and they said, we have a consultant orthodontist and she needs an assistant.
Hi, I'm Colleen. Are you Dr.?
Please, call me Siobhan.
I was only about 23 years old and thought, what a fantastic opportunity.
So this is it, our new orthodontics department.
The particular unit that they wanted to use had been closed down and hadn't been used since the tuberculosis times. They had all these separate units so that the patients wouldn't spread tuberculosis.
Should we take a look?
I was so excited about the job and the opportunity to build this brand new department.
But Colleen's excitement evaporates once she's inside.
When they showed me the building, it was just so old and dark, and it was basically left pretty much as it was when they closed it.
The construction crew will work on the renovations after hours.
I just thought, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into?
Is there anybody else here?
No, the building's completely abandoned.
The lighting was very yellow and old. There were old hospital beds, wheelchairs. It was pretty creepy.
Here is your temporary office. You're all set up in there.
It was very desolate. They basically just opened up one of the, which would have been an old patient room, and put an old office desk in there and said, this is where you're going to work from.
And where is your office?
Until the unit is up and running and patients are booked, I'll remain off-site.
So I'll be alone.
It's only temporary.
The thought of being there, not just in this really creepy old building, but being isolated there by myself until things were basically set up, that was scary for me.
Colleen tries to put the fact that she's alone in the abandoned building out of her head.
They didn't want me to lock the front door because there were constant deliveries. As I started working there, I started hearing things.
Hello? Who's there?
I hear this noise. And they got closer and closer and closer until they basically came right up to outside my office door. I looked down the hallway to see where the noise was coming from.
Hello?
So then I thought, okay, I'm imagining things. And then it happened again. I'm the type of Irish woman that nothing really scares me, but let me tell you, what happened in this hospital really did. It sounded like things being moved, like something was down the end of the hallway.
If this is a joke, it isn't funny.
I called my boyfriend at the time because I started to get really nervous.
Hello, this is Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Everything okay?
Everything's fine, but
I don't like the thought of you being alone in that building by yourself. Is there any way you can lock the door?
I've asked. They won't allow it.
It just doesn't seem right.
I couldn't agree more. Anyway, I'm gonna break for lunch and then get back to work.
Okay, love. We'll see you tonight.
I used to have lunch in the same building because it was too far away to go to the main building to have lunch. I started hearing noise coming through the vent, which wasn't like a normal noise. It was weird. It was almost like whatever it was followed me into the break room. I started hearing noise coming through the vent. They were mainly female voices, women talking. They were loud. It was almost like whatever it was followed me into the break room. That terrified me.
It seems that what Colleen is experiencing is a residual haunting, the echoes of a bygone age. Footsteps walking through long abandoned corridors, voices chattering to one another when nobody else is in the building.
As the renovations continue, Colleen is moved to a proper office.
They started to renovate the building, and they made a brand new office for me. And I thought, well, maybe it won't be so bad now. But things were just getting worse. I was walking across to the break room. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw this shadow move. Way down the end of the hallway, I saw something run. I just froze because I was like, okay, what the heck was that? My heart started pounding and I got so scared. I knew that wasn't physically real. I knew it was something paranormal.
Hi. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. Are you the new ortho assistant?
Yeah.
I'm working reception in the main building. These letters are for your department.
Thank you for bringing these over. Sorry, lots of weird noises in the building kind of creeps me out.
Oh, yeah. I hear all sorts of stories.
My phone rings all night long, he said, from nurses that are scared because there are bells that go off in patients' rooms that aren't occupied anymore.
The activity never seems to stop.
Activity? What do you mean?
It's the old TB patients. Or so they say. So many of them died here, like hundreds, the poor souls.
There's energy left in this hospital from people that passed away from the time that, tuberculosis, which a lot of patients did pass away, sadly.
Break's almost over. I've got to get back to it, but best of luck.
Thanks.
I wasn't really aware at the time of all the history in the hospital. Talking to him then made me realize that I wasn't going crazy.
The confirmation that the hospital is haunted does not deter Colleen from working in the isolated building.
In the beginning, I would go out and look. But then as time went on, when I kept going out to look and there was nobody there, that's when I stopped going to look.
Who are you?
There was a man just standing there. He wasn't a delivery man because he didn't have anything with him. I asked him to, why he was there, and he didn't really have any explanations.
You need to leave. Now!
After that, I asked to have the door locked so I would be safe and nobody could just wander in, and they agreed to do that.
But locking the unit door cannot protect Colleen from what's already inside.
Orthodontics, this is Colleen.
Hello, Colleen. It's Siobhan. I need you to pull a binder from the storage room.
All right. I'll go check.
Thanks, Colleen.
It was a negative energy down the end of the hallway in the storeroom, and I didn't want to go down there. When you would go down the hallway, it would be really hot in the building, but as you got to the very, very end, the minute you stepped into that area, it would become ice cold. Down the very end, there was an area they were just using for storage. That particular area was just an area I did not want to be in. I had to get in and get out fast. The minute you stepped into that area, the hairs would stand up on the back of your neck. I felt like I was being watched. Because I always felt like there was literally somebody right behind me. Something was behind me. I felt like somebody was chasing me.
Alone in the old hospital, the effects on Colleen are starting to show.
I thought eventually they'll give up. They'll leave me alone. But actually, it did the opposite. The more I ignored it, the more they wanted more attention. I'm hearing more voices, I'm hearing more noises, I'm seeing more things. I actually brought in a clock radio, and I would turn the radio up really loud to try and block out the noise. I could still hear the noise above the radio. There was constant chatter. The minute I came in the morning, it would start up, and it would be there till I left work in the evening time.
That's it! I've had it! Enough!
The minute I said that, the poster flew on the floor with a bang. Bang! I jumped so high, it scared me so much that I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I decided to ask for a transfer. I really couldn't tell them why. I didn't want them to think I was crazy. After I got transferred to another position there and left that particular area, another woman replaced me. And I just heard afterwards that 2 other people had to work with her because she didn't want to be there by herself. Because I was trying to block them out and ignore them because I was scared, they got noisier and louder and tried to get more and more attention.
Often in life, our own imagination is our worst enemy. And when you work in a big old scary building and you're all alone, thanks to a lifetime of horror movies and scary stories, you are primed to think about ghosts. The kicker is, sometimes you aren't wrong.
In a big city hospital, recent nursing graduate Amy Archibald Varley begins an overnight shift in the maternity ward.
I was a labor and delivery nurse at the time. It was actually my love and my passion to be in that area. This hospital that I worked at, it was actually one of the largest regional centers where a lot of births occur. I think that the reason I chose that area was because I wanted to work with moms and babies, and there's always good stories, but again, with good stories, there are bad stories as well. In my job as a labor and delivery nurse, it is very stressful. We're dealing with the patient that we have, we're dealing with a baby, and then we're also dealing with the complexities of families. So I would say that on a scale of 1 to 10, our jobs are very stressful. I'd say it is definitely a 10.
Hey. Hey. Are you doing okay, Amy?
Yeah, that last delivery was my first rough one. Little guy almost didn't make it. Oh. He's a trooper, though. Hey, how's his mom doing?
She's under observation. We're gonna keep her there tonight. Hopefully she does better.
Yeah.
Poor little guy.
I know.
I was actually relatively new to the facility. One of the things that was always concerning and always weighed heavily on my own mind was having to worry about if I had a patient that might actually die in labor and delivery.
So Mom is doing fine. Dr. Carson's with her now.
There had been previous maternal deaths of something called an amniotic embolism. And essentially, this is when the patient has a fluid shift in their amniotic fluid, which causes an embolism.
We had 3 in a row before you started working here. It all happened in room 144.
I remember nurses telling me how tragic and how horrible it was, but also the sense of dread whenever they went into that room. They actually stopped using that room for patient care. They actually stopped having laboring patients in that room because of some of these fears.
We don't put patients in there anymore, but sometimes the staff use it for cat naps.
That's a great place to nap.
If you like nightmares. Honestly, every nurse who has slept in there, something happens.
I think maybe this is what most people don't know about nurses. Like, nurses do sleep on night shifts. The nurses tend to actually write down where your breaks are going to be.
Oh, I'm in 144 tonight. I guess you already knew that.
Think of it like initiation. We've all had to do it.
Everyone has like a set place if they need to be contacted because there's an emergency or be easily found because they know what room that they're going to be assigned to. That particular night, I was assigned to sleep in room 144.
So you've both slept in room 144?
Didn't believe them. I was just like, you know, it's a room. These things don't really occur, and we shouldn't be really scared about going to sleep in a room. So I wasn't too scared. I had been in room 144 previously just to grab a supply or whatnot, but this was my first time actually sleeping in room 144. I had those thoughts knowing that these events of deaths occurred, and actually it made it almost more fearful because I don't think people think about when you lie on a hospital bed who might have died there. When I first opened the door, I had all my supplies in hand, and I did have a little bit of apprehension. And I remember saying, I got this, it's just a room. But I do remember feeling a lot of tension and tightness in my chest. I remember looking at the time, and it was around 12:44, and I thought that, you know, I'm just gonna lie down and go to sleep, and everything should be fine. The scariest piece for me was just knowing that I was gonna be there by myself. But I remember having my heart beating really, really fast. It's fine. I don't need to be scared. It's just a room. And I think that's when I started feeling other things in the room at that time. The room was actually very, very cold. It's just that sense where you feel the hairs on the back of your neck starting to stand up, knowing that even if you looked around very quickly, maybe nothing was there. But the fear of looking over your shoulder was overwhelming. I just remember having the sense as I was laying there on that bed that I wasn't alone. I do remember closing my eyes for a minute, just saying, you know what, there's nothing here. It's just, you know, all these tall tales just put out to scare me. And I remember laying there and breathing. I could hear my own breath, and I think that was a part that started to scare me too. I could hear my own heartbeat. And it almost felt like that's why I knew there was another presence there. The sound was deafening. It was loud enough that it couldn't have just been my own breathing, and that it felt like it was someone else there breathing alongside of me. Whatever this feeling or this presence was standing at the edge of the bed, staring and waiting. I remember taking in a really deep breath, and I felt that if I held my breath, that, you know, maybe it wouldn't hear me. I could feel that it was getting closer. I could feel the presence as it approached my left-hand side, started to lean in towards me. I felt paralyzed because I was so scared. I did not want to find out what would happen if I stayed 1 minute longer in that room. trapped with that entity or presence. When I grabbed the door was so heavy, I felt that I had to use even more force to get it open. I had pulled the door open and kind of got out of the room because there were other nurses outside the hallway. They were kind of shocked by the force in which I pulled the door.
I am never sleeping in that room ever again. Like, come on.
I had a sense of relief, but I was still very, very scared.
We'll get you some water, okay?
The nurses here interpret this room as almost being cursed, when in reality, what can happen is that when you have a lot of focused negativity into a space, when you've got a lot of fear, and when you're living to that label, then you can actually create a haunting within a room based on the negative energy that's there.
I worked in the hospital for about 2 years after that, and I never went back to the room. Since then, I never, ever slept on a patient bed ever again. I'd rather sleep in like the area where we'd eat in the general kitchen than ever stay and sleep in a patient bed ever again. Who knows, maybe it was a spirit of a patient who was previously on that mattress in that room. I don't know if they're still making new nurses be initiated to sleep in room 144. I hope it doesn't happen at all anymore.
In a stately hospital that has seen its share of history, Tricia Stagg is finishing up her shift in one of its procedural rooms.
The hospital is a large hospital, and the original older portion of the hospital was built in the 1930s.
3 down, 1 to go. Can't wait to be done with this.
The old part of the building, now it just houses various clinics and outpatient procedure environments.
Any fun weekend plans? Nope, I'll just be here studying. You know, the usual.
Tricia is working towards her master's degree in nursing. When her shifts are done, she heads for the abandoned wing of the old hospital, a quiet place to study after hours.
I had heard that the building was quite haunted just because of its age and the things that it has seen in the time that it has been in operation. I know the hospital had experienced many deaths over the years, that it was the original hospital. But I haven't experienced anything like that. The building is such a large building with lots of little nooks and crannies and ways that you could get lost.
Gotcha. That is so not funny. Lost again? No.
No. Come on, I've got work to do. I'm set up over here.
Every Sunday, my friend and I would meet at the hospital to work on our school project.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Shh.
We both looked at each other and knew there would not be anyone else in that building because you needed to scan your badge to get into that building. There should not be anyone working there on the weekends. My friend and I heard the cart every Sunday for probably 5 or 6 Sundays. And every time my friend and I went in the hall together to see if we could possibly see someone or see a cart this time, and every time we did not see any person or any cart.
Come on, let's just go back to studying.
It's a new day. Putting the strange experience behind her, Trisha focuses on work in the procedural room.
At the end of a long procedure day, my coworker and I were working together to clean the procedure room. We stocked all the supplies that would be needed, the kits for the procedures and the sterile water that we would use, things like that. My coworker and I just could not believe our eyes. It's not that the object was sitting on the edge of the shelf and it maybe teetered off and fell to the floor. They went probably 3 feet straight out from the shelf. I was just confused and could not understand what could have caused those bottles to projectile off of the shelf. I had heard that that room was haunted, but it just felt so crazy to be experiencing it myself. How could those heavy objects be tossed across the room?
There's a really high chance that what's happening here is that the entity itself is being territorial over the space. It's being threatened by whatever Trisha is projecting herself. So it may turn around and move objects, shift things around, and try to scare her away.
Let's get out of here.
I couldn't explain what happened.
The recent events now have Trisha approaching her workspace with added caution.
I did have to keep working in that same procedure room. And I would try as much as I could to not be in that room alone. My coworker and I worked together quite often. Because it was an advanced procedure room, there were not many staff members trained to work there.
It's just me. It's Joe. Let's just focus on our jobs. Agreed. Great work today.
Thank you, you too.
You all done for the day?
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to get out of here. This place
We would both work together to quickly restock the room and clean the room and then get out of there as soon as we could.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
My coworker and I just stared at each other in disbelief. Things like that aren't supposed to happen.
No. No. What? What is happening? I can't do this.
We had a handheld scanner, and its original intent would be to scan the patient's armband and then scan the drug before administering the drug to the patient. But we do not use that handheld scanner at all anymore, so it was always just in the holster.
I can't do this, Trisha. No, this is too much.
At that time, my coworker revealed to me that she'd been cleaning that room alone in the past and heard someone whispering her name.
This is too much.
There's not any way that it could have been a prank.
I'm out of here.
There could not have been a person there without us knowing that there was a person there. I was really shocked to see that. I just couldn't understand why the ghost or entity or whatever kept causing objects to move while we were in the room. I wasn't sure what the intent or purpose was.
With her workday done, Trisha attempts to shift focus to her studies. She heads to one of the offices in the unit.
Working late tonight?
Oh, yes, I am. You have a good night.
Night.
Various people would walk in and out of the unit throughout the night, whether that be the cleaning crew or people from the pharmacy that were coming to restock supplies. So I started studying in a locked office just so I could be alone and not be startled with people walking in and out of the unit. It was a little unsettling being in the locked office by myself in a closed building that was mostly empty. I was in the office completely alone. No one else was there with me. The keychain just stood out to the side for I don't know how many seconds, but it seemed like a long time as I stared at it. My office was in what used to be the old part of the original hospital building, so my thought was that some sort of ghost or entity was trying to get my attention. I felt like there was someone in the room with me. My first instinct was that I needed to exit the room. The presence did not want me in their space, that I needed to leave quickly. But I felt paralyzed with fear that I could not do that. It was quite unusual for me to burst into tears. I would not describe myself as a overly emotional person. I don't cry a lot. So I reached out to a friend who works nights in another part of the hospital. I texted them. Luckily, my friend was close by and came and unlocked the door.
Trisha, what's wrong?
There's something here. You have to believe me.
My friend stated that they could feel the presence also.
I feel it too. It doesn't want us here. We need to leave.
My friend helped gather my belongings and got me out of the room. I did not ever feel comfortable being in the building alone again. I would only go into the building for my scheduled shifts in the daytime and then leave when my shift was over.
It doesn't occur to Trisha that her safety may also be at risk. outside of the walls of the old hospital.
My friend and I would carpool to work, and we were walking up a ramp toward the building when suddenly I felt a sharp tug on my left backpack strap. Like a strong person had come and just pulled really hard and made me stumble backwards.
Oh my God! Are you okay?
I thought that my friend had pulled my backpack strap, so I turned around to say, "Oh my gosh, you pulled it so hard, you almost made me fall down."
Are you okay? I don't know what happened.
Is there something in your bag?
My friend tried to rationalize and look inside my backpack to see if there was some heavy object that had maybe shifted that caused me to be pulled backwards, but I knew it couldn't have been an object in my backpack.
What's wrong? I know it was him.
It was who?
He pulled on my backpack. There's just no one there. She scared me.
The backpack pulling and sending somebody off balance definitely would suggest there's either territorial spirit or a very, very angry spirit.
You're okay. You're okay.
My heart was pounding, and my friend and I just stopped in our tracks to talk about what had just happened.
If there's an escalation of violent, more aggressive behavior in the haunting, then that would definitely suggest there's something there that the spirit doesn't want you to see or find out, and is kind of doing what it can to keep you away from that location.
This really did scare me because I couldn't believe that an entity was able to physically come up and touch my backpack and pulled me backwards and almost caused me bodily harm.
We're not really certain why people see ghosts. It really depends on the person. If they were born with a psychic ability, whether it's latent and it's showing up later in life, or they've always had it. Do these people grow up in a home life where, oh no, a psychic phenomenon doesn't happen? Or do they grow up in an environment, well, it runs in the family, it just is?
I have an aunt who is a medium. She's always said that she thinks that I'm sensitive and that I can experience things, but I've never believed her. And I'm still not sure that I believe her. I feel like if anyone went to work in the building, they would see some of the same things that I've seen. After that incident with the ramp, I was recruited to go work for another area of the hospital. I wonder if I had stayed in the position, what other experiences I would have had. What I really feel is that it's this building. This building is just super haunted. I feel like if anyone went to work in the building, they would have some of the same experiences that I've had.